work and prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, when my days are through, America, America, I gave my best to you. Norah Jones, American Anthem.
We are the heirs to the greatest democracy in the history of the world. And on behalf of our children and grandchildren and all those who sacrificed so dearly for our freedom and liberty, we must be worthy of this moment. It is now our turn to do what generations before us have done, guided by optimism and faith, to fight for this country we love, to fight for the ideals we cherish, and to uphold the awesome responsibility that comes with the greatest privilege on earth, the privilege and pride of being in America. VP Harris.
Devil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
I can't hear the clip.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. All right. Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast to reclaim faith in the context of political discussion. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on social media at SethRothII. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon website where you can find us at patreon.com, where you can find the past shows and a way to help us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us make this humble show. And for my co-host today, September.
Well, hi, I'm September, also known as 9 of 12. You can follow me or find all my stuff at 9of12.com. Follow this show, please, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, and give us a review. That really helps other people find us. You can also find our first volume of this podcast on YouTube and Patreon.
So, while there's been a lot of other news that's been going on as well, we're mainly, the big news is the 4-night event, which was the DNC, which we're going to cover. So, we're going to cover that today. That's going to be the whole focus of the show. There's not going to be any other news. But before we start, Brother Bowie, will you lead us in a word of prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Okay, it played.
All right, thank you. So before we get started, why don't we ask someone who has been at a convention and been a delegate, and kind of give her thoughts of how this went, overall, real quick, kind of, how the 4 nights went, and also her experiences when she was a delegate, and that would be September.
Yeah, I was a delegate twice. In 2008, I was elected at district level from North Carolina in my district 10. And in 2012, I was elected again at state level at the state convention here. And I actually was appointed by the state chair to serve on the committee that helped make sure that we met all quotas that the DNC requires for diversity in our delegation. So, yeah, I helped run that election. This was a really great convention. It was different in some ways and, same old in some ways. I found myself wishing I was there, though, and that hasn't happened in a while. The energy and I've talked to, I have friends, I have a friend who was elected to the DNC this year, and other friends that are still delegates. I was texting like, hey, I saw you dancing to John Legend doing that Prince song, and it's like, it had to be done. I was like, oh, I was right there with you. And my DNC friend, like, hey, can you bring me some Malort for my other show? But because it's a Chicago thing.
Right.
So, yeah, the energy was very, very 2008, very hopey, changey. That I saw that.
I got those vibes. It's like, and they said, yes, she can quite often, and I ended up finding myself finding the Will I Am video of 2007, 2008, and I'm like getting all weepy because it's like, oh yeah, I feel the same vibe. Now, did you have a DJ that played the songs?
No, that was a new way to do the roll call. That was really funny and interesting, and I mean, it was weird in moments. I wasn't that DJ. Oh, the DJ they had last night, I felt like was better. I wish he had done the other thing. And there were a few, like, it was so cool to have songs from each state. Like, he tried his best, but to do that, but then not have it for every state was a little weird. Like,
well, it's like the North Carolina one I had to look up, and like, because you would think it'd be like, James Taylor or somebody like that. I had to look it up, and it's a decent song. Don't get me wrong, it's a decent hip hop song. It's just like the artist isn't well known and stuff, and we will discuss that when we get to, I think it's night 2. I think it is.
It's funny you mentioned James Taylor. I gotta wonder if they might have, but were disallowed. I don't know if you knew, but James Taylor was supposed to play the first night, and they were just running over and couldn't.
They were like an hour, according to MSNBC, they were like an hour and a half behind on Monday.
Yeah, and it always runs a little behind. I mean, you can't keep it. Was it my friend Scott and I texted through watching every night, and it's just like, okay, well, like tonight they're only like about 25 minutes behind, plus you got to add the extra 25 minutes gay standard time. Like,
yeah, well. They mentioned that all the major speakers spoke like almost double their allotted time, because that's probably one of the reasons.
Well, but I don't know. You can only plan for so much hype, and there was so much hype. The crowd was so reactive, and so many chants, and coming in with new chants, and that was it. The energy it was really real. As much as the roll call is political theater, I don't know. That was another thing. The roll call, like, oh my gosh, you're not all running for office. Stop. Like, some of those were so long, and you got to let like 4 people from your state talk. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's your moment, but I know, having been at conventions, that kind of thing for me is. At least they had the DJ thing going on, so it kept some momentum. But for me, I'm just the kind of person where I'm like, can we just do our business? Can we just move along? Like, this is we already cast our ballots. We already know all this. This is just for the public to know what the numbers are. But can we just do the numbers?
No, and I get that. And some of the states, they're trying to, like, say, hey, we do have Democrats here, kind of stuff, and I get that, but some of them were giving history lessons of their state, and I'm like, all right, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like seeing little John, and
that was hilarious. I was like, when they started this roll call thing, I was like, what is happening? What are they doing? Like, this is a little weird. And then he came out, and I was like, oh, it was all just a setup for this, I think.
Well, and then, Indiana, you get Samwise Gamgee up there, and I'm going, you know what? I can't say no. I can't. Yeah,
how weird was it that they were chanting Rudy? Like, I mean, I get it, but
isn't that where Notre Dame is in Indiana?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably because he played Rudy
Yeah, and,
which was
but
a
still,
Notre Dame. I know.
it's so
I would
long
have been
ago.
chanting.
Like,
I know. I would have been chanting.
like all the millennials are like, and younger, like, what the hell is that about, right? And he had to like,
yeah.
I felt like he had to explain it then, right? Like, oh.
Yeah, because I would have been chanting Samwise, and I'm not a millennial. Like, but I know where I'm going.
Oh, and I told Rob, I was like, well, I guess we can win now because we got Samwise. He'll carry us across. Like,
that's right. VP Harris, I may not be able to be president, but I can carry you to be president. It's like, yeah. So, yeah.
But as much as it is theater, the hype was real. I think they did a really amazing job of making the case. I hope for people anybody undecided watching.
Right.
I think they said Trump's name too many times. Like, I know you have to compare and contrast, but geez Louise.
One of the things I did notice also, though, is they did have a lot of Republicans, former Republican office holders, and Republican office holders that, like the mayor of Tucson, I think it was. I didn't put him as one of the individuals because I didn't get it. Look, there was on NMSNBC. I recorded on the DVR, and it was like 5 hours every day of stuff, and I'm like, there was so much. I tried to watch as many of the speeches as possible. I really did. But I just was like, all right, look, I'm just going to skip over a few of these because I'm tired.
Yeah, I mean, I the inside views, and from people that were true believers, but experience like firsthand with the Donald and that organization,
right,
was impactful. Republicans who are like, this is not our party. We don't own any of that shit anymore. Was impactful. One of the most impactful for me was Stephanie Grisham.
Right.
She was formerly Melania's press secretary, and her revelations were, whew. That was because she's like, I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter at Mar-a-Lago. They were my family, and I took shit for not, I was criticized during the time for not having press conferences, but I couldn't. Because I couldn't bring myself to just get up and publicly lie about things, and the exposure to, she's like, Donald talks about all his supporters, like, he denigrates them. As soon as he's off camera, he calls his own supporters basement dwellers and makes fun of them. What else was she? Oh, she said, and then she showed her text messages with Melania from January 6th, and they just put it on the big screen. She was like, please, do we want to make a statement saying, okay, you have a right to, she had written out what she would put out. Like, it's every American's right to peacefully protest, but, violence is never called for. And all she got back was, no. Like,
and you have to,
you got to remember, people, like, there was a violent insurrection. And I saw somebody locally on Facebook the other day, like, oh, that wasn't violent. You guys just believe what the fake media tells you. Holy shit, no. We watched it live. People died. What world? What alternate universe are you in?
Wait. No, better still, we broadcast live that day when it started happening. We were like, we got on the phone to each other and it's like, hey, we need to get on. And we live streamed part of that and talked about it and talked through it. So we were there.
There are weird this cult personality on the right, and I love that they kept invoking that during the DNC, like how they've turned the Republican Party into a cult of personality. Like, they showed respect for Republicans and Americans in general, and we should be in this together. But this cult of personality, like, that subtle jab at it being a cult. But cult of personality is a very apt description. But there are people who genuinely just misremember the facts. Donald has said, like, oh, you say stuff enough times. That's another thing Stephanie Christian pointed out. You just say it enough and then people believe it's true.
Right.
And that they're being messaged on purpose and brainwashed on the side of like, that didn't happen. Oh, no, it was just some people that were planted to make us look bad. No, that didn't happen. It happened. It happened. People died.
Yes. I still have a playlist of like Stephen Colbert and stuff coming on that night talking about it. So, and everything else, you can go through our archives. There's a playlist. I think it's one of the last playlists of the previous volumes where we went on live to talk about it. So it's not like we weren't talking about it, and we were there, and we were live streaming it. And
I understand people being discouraged about voting. I mean, it hurts, and it's hard to understand. Even my kids are. They don't think it matters when our system is so broken that he can run for president after inciting that. Like the little tiny details of law. Like I get why the process is the way it is, but it failed. It failed in this instance.
It did.
How could he run?
Well, here's the thing: if the problem is that the party is so afraid of those rabid followers, because it wasn't just to intimidate the Democrats and everything else. It was also to intimidate those Republicans that were trying to break away after he lost. And that's what that was. That it also had that chilling effect on them as well, to where they were terrified that, some lone crazy MAGA supporter would go after them if they spoke out. So having someone like Adam Kinzinger, be brave enough to do the Jan 6 committee and stuff like that, knowing it was a political suicide and maybe actual, harm to himself because of these individuals, is a big deal. Liz Cheney as well, and Liz Cheney is got some issues, but I can't doubt that she understood what this would do to her as far as politically and as far as possibly in her life. It's one of those situations. So it did that too. So that's why they stopped doing that, and that's stopped breaking away from Donald Trump, and it's that party's fault for letting him fester for 4 years and letting him continue to be part of the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And because of that.
Sabotaging the immigration bill? Like, are you kidding me? Anybody who flipped and did that, they all need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're elected to represent the people that elected you and do the best for our country. You broke your vow to uphold the law when you voted against the immigration bill because it would hurt Trump politically. Like, you put the politics of it and the bullshit theater of it before the well-being of your constituents. It's right. I hate that so much. One of my favorite features that one of my newspaper back home used to have was just, and I don't know, some papers maybe still do it, I doubt it, but you can look up online how your legislators vote. Right.
I get an email once a week about what my NC, the people who represent me, it's like roll call or something like that. I forget exactly what, but I get an email saying what my senators vote for and what my representative votes for. So
and for the people that are like, I do my own research. Do you really? It's not that hard to see how your representatives voted and then compare it to what they promised they would do. It's our job. Right. It's our responsibility to hold the people that are elected, whether we voted for them or not, accountable to doing what they say and walking the walk. But anyway, I have fond memories of the conventions I went to. It's a lot of work. Thank you to all the delegates who made that journey. In case you didn't know, these are normal people. These are your neighbors. They paid for their own accommodations. They paid for their travel. This isn't some kind of rich people only. This is real grassroots people. I did it as a stay-at-home mom when I was elected those and went into debt to do it. So these are true believers who are doing the actual work and showing up for meetings and, choosing these candidates. It's not as corrupt as everyone thinks, and being involved in that gave me hope in this process that people don't believe in and they don't realize they have a voice if they show up. So thank you to every delegate that went and did that. I'm excited about, good things I heard about the organization of this, despite what the Republican side is saying, bullshit about whatever crimes committed in Chicago, like that's related. But there was cool things like the North Carolina delegation got to stay in a hotel with, I think, 4 other states' delegations.
Right.
And that allowed for a lot of across-the-country networking to happen ahead of the election, which is great. In 2008, and we didn't have that. North Carolina delegation was only... They were in a hotel with one other delegation. I think we were in a hotel with Kansas, and it was so out of the thick of things in the city. We had to get a shuttle to get anywhere. So a city like Chicago, I think, was really great for hosting. And in Charlotte, it was at least the hotels were more concentrated. They put everybody, so everybody was kind of in the city. They made the journalists have hotels. They would have to travel in to do things, but we could do our business with short. I fortunately knew a rickshaw driver to get over to stuff I wanted to go to every day. But I love that the hotels in Chicago were so big. They allowed more networking and work to be done among the delegates while they were all gathered.
Which is good because, especially right, as you know, or I don't know if you've heard, but North Carolina has now become a toss-up, which means we're going to get a lot more ads. We're going to get a lot more visits from both the Donald and from Harris and Walz because it's now a toss-up. So there's, having the ability for the delegates to network with other states that may be either toss-up states or solid blue states and find out best strategies to make sure that they can, to when they get to the field kind of situation is very helpful.
I mean, sure. We have organizations in place that know our area better, but and I like to see hiring within state instead of shipping people around to areas they don't really understand. I was talking about strategies, not hiring people not hiring people, but strategies per se. But strategies matter. You have to understand the demographics past. It's best to understand demographics past looking at the numbers, and it's your area is like mine. Having locals being able to network is best. But state to state, things like the connections that are made when you're looking for surrogates is great. Yes, North Carolina is going to end up getting more top line, like Walz and Harris and things, but states that aren't as important in play, they still need to have the rallies and everything. And you might have met someone who has a better connection to book Bill Clinton to come speak as a surrogate. Those kind of connections are really important. It's stuff like, oh, geez, who am I going to have, speak? Oh, well, I got, I met somebody from North Carolina. Maybe Roy Cooper would come out here, right? Those kind of networking opportunities are a really good thing.
But so let's do this. Let's get into the individual nights at this point.
Sure.
So, and we're going. Now, I've got clips. We'll hit some of the highlights of each of the night. We're not going to go through every person that spoke. I've got a list of the speakers, and I've also highlighted some of them, and we probably won't even hit those because there's just so many of them that I personally put in. But and I've got YouTube clips for those individuals as well that are on my list. It's a document, and we will put those in the notes. But I do want to highlight the fact that I didn't get the fourth night because I couldn't find it. But every night they had someone come up and talk about Project 2025, and I felt that was very important to hammer home how connected Donald Trump and his campaign is to Project 2025 and what Project 2025 will do. And I think that was extremely important. And I think they got some, at least the first two nights, they got some young and up and coming talent and state offices. Mm-hmm. Michigan Senator Mallory McMore, she was wonderful. And then the second night was, let me see if I can find, was state rep in Pennsylvania, Malcolm Quintanilla. I am butchering names, and I apologize. I've always been bad at that. But it covers, and they were both great highlights. And then the third night we had, what is his name? He was a comedian, and now I have to pull that up. Bad at this. Kenan Thompson. Did a little bit of made it a little funny, but also very serious and everything else. And I think that was a good thing. And like I said, I didn't get to see the last night, but I know they did it all 3 nights. So that's something you really
I think they
should
spent
look for
maybe
on.
too much time on Project 2025. Yes, because you would think I don't think it's going to end up being as influential as it already has been. I think it already has been. The people that are going to go ahead and read it and understand how think tank work, like people who went ahead and watched Bad Faith and can make the connections of this long running plan to overtake our political system and our government and how that relates and like who these people are that made Project 2025 and why it's believable that the Donald is going to follow that plan. I think they just should have gone ahead and attacked like his website and Project 47.
The problem is he's cleared a lot of that off.
Directly cite, but they needed to directly cite him.
Yeah. Because
his literature, I got literature in the mailed to one of my sons from the Donald. Actually, I don't know which pack it is, but whatever. One side is all anti-Harris stuff. That's basically attacks based on her program that reduced recidivism in California by like 90% plus, and helped a lot of people. Like the 2 people that backslid and like somebody, murdered a family later on. So they're taking that one instance like they do and acting like that's the result of all of her policies, but then the other side has all stuff about the Donald, which is garbage. But one of the things it says, it specifically, their lit now says Project 2025 isn't the Trump campaign. Neither does the Trump campaign endorse it. Like, that's not us. So all the time the Dems spend going Project 2025 is wiped out by anybody who is leaning right already and just sees it in print that's Project 2025 is not the Trump campaign, and that's verifiable because it's not technically. But for the average voter who doesn't understand all the think tanks and how they relate, it just looks like we're spouting garbage.
No, I understand. I get that and everything else, but also like the Agenda 47. that project, the Agenda 47 stuff. My understanding is that I haven't looked today, but I know some of that stuff has been scrubbed off his website since we covered it. So we probably what has been covered by the DNC and everything else is pretty much. And the fact that we covered the Agenda 47, I don't think we need to go into detail about it. So we're not going to do that as a show. I know we talked about doing it, but I understand what you're saying. I just think it's also important to still that these are people that are supporting Trump, that gave Trump the list of judges who, and I think they should have connected this. I do think that was a failing, that they didn't connect, that the Heritage Foundation basically gave Trump the list of judges that eventually, A, overturned Roe v. Wade, and B, gave him, presidential immunity, while you're president. So that should have been a more connection. I think that needed to be a more connective tissue to the Project 20. If you're going to talk about Project 2025, you need to explain who the Heritage Foundation is, or at least what they have done in the past to show how dangerous this can be. So, I think that's an important connection that needed to be done, but they didn't. So, I understand what your criticism of it, and I get it. And I think that they did fail of not connecting dots better. We also have to understand that some of this stuff, like the early stuff, these early speeches and stuff, is less, though they're doing it for everybody to see. Most of the stuff until you get to the later speakers are more of preaching to the choir kind of situation. I feel some of these speeches and stuff are more preaching to the choir until you get into like the prime time hour, and this was in the 5 and 6 o'clock hour kind of stuff. So
yeah, and that time needed to be spent on people who are undecided that you can reach. Agenda 47 is still up. So
it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So I had heard it had been. I had seen that it had been wiped. They may have just been retooling the website, so that may have been a possibility considering the DNC convention and stuff. So because I didn't see it when I checked, because someone had said it had been, the videos and stuff had disappeared, and I looked and was like, oh, it had. So okay, so they probably just was retooling. So I apologize, and I'm glad you checked that for us in real time.
Yeah.
So yes, they should have focused more on the Agenda 47, which is as you described it, and when we talked about it, is kind of the Cliff Notes version of Project 2025 anyway.
Yeah. But it's like from the mouth of, right? Like
right.
verifiable.
Correct.
Okay, that's right there. He said it. So
right. There were some great. There were some other great speeches that night. I think AOC. I think she
AOC
is going
was
to be
great.
She was.
She was fire.
And I think she's going. She's young right now and everything else, but I think she is going to be a leader. She may end up being president. Maybe
she is a leader, but.
Yeah, but yes, she is a leader, but I think she's going to be right now. She still doesn't have a lot of leadership control
still a
in
rising
the House
star.
because still a rising star. But I think she will be very, very influential. She is already influential, and she is just amazing. She's an amazing communicator, and that's a big thing. A lot of the speakers they had were amazing communicators.
And some not so much, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
No. Representative Clyburn came on and talked. It was very nice. But all
right. So do you think, you're the theologian, I feel like he totally on purpose picked something from 2 Corinthians to troll Trump.
He did. It's like, geez. For those who don't know, look up the quote or the clip of Trump talking about 2 Corinthians. What does he call it? The book 2 of Corinthians.
Corinthians 2.
Yeah, so he just really. I was like, you have never read a book. You've never even opened a Bible before. Because you've never been in a church in your life. Yes, yeah, but yeah, but I felt that was a good speech, talking about 2 Corinthians, which is talking about love and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the highlight for me as far as being a theologian was Senator Reverend Warnock. Is he also a doctor? Because that would, I'm not sure. But, Senator Reverend Warnock, intermingling what faith and politics is supposed to be about taking care of your fellow man and all of this kind of stuff. And as you know, that is that's why we started this podcast years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. He uses Senator Reverend, so. Okay,
Senator Reverend. Okay. And intermingling those and everything else and talking about on January 5th, for all of us Democrats and everything, we were all excited and happy, and because we had won 2 seats in Georgia for Senate and everything else. And then January 6th happens the following day, and how it is a night and day difference of how things looked so bright, and then suddenly all this darkness happened. And that was a big thing I noticed. Kind of the undercurrent was talking about the darkness of Donald Trump and what the MAGA movement, and they made it clear. I did like this. They made it clear. They did make a clear break in distinction between the Republicans and the GOP and the MAGA movement. And I think that was very critical for them. If they're trying to get, centrist Republicans, and if they're trying to get, independents and stuff and undecideds, I think that clear break is important because because it shows that they do believe in a healthy GOP, even if they disagree with them, versus the MAGA movement, which is just full of darkness and hate and stuff.
Where it's not, it's not about country. They're about this me thing. Mm-hmm. Warnock said Appalachia. That threw me. That he would use Appalachian instead of Appalachia, but I don't know. I guess it's a different part of the South. Like, I thought that was Northerners did that.
Well, it's a Georgia way of it's a Georgia and ethnic. There is a distinction in the language between white Appalachians and those of black, brown, and indigenous, how they pronounce it as well. I did find that out, that they do pronounce it slightly differently depending on who you speak with. The Native Americans just call it the land you stole, but yeah. Joking, but I'm just saying, for the most part, there is a bit of a distinction in that.
No, I know all that. That's why I'm saying I thought it was weird that Warnock used it, that pronunciation. But
and he may have misspoke, because it is one of those things where it's very easy to not say it correctly if you're not thinking about it.
Well, it depends who you're talking to, right? Like, so.
Yeah. And of course, night one ended with Dr. Jill Biden and Ashley Biden speaking about the president before Joe took the stage, and I thought it was an amazing speech. And I timed the standing ovation, and it was 3 minutes 39 seconds from the time he took the podium until the time he started speaking, which I think is I think it's deserved for him. And I think that, that was a good kind of swan song, kind of goodbye.
I mean, the whole night was designed to be all about him.
Right.
It was the thank you, goodbye, pass the torch.
Yep. And I did, and at the end, I did like how even Hunter came out on stage at the end. I felt that was, while Hunter didn't speak, they weren't afraid to show Hunter's face on the stage, and I think that's important. So I
liked Joe, seeing like the angry, no malarkey Joe coming out, like just your standard political speech, like all the blah blah and this and thank you and storied career, but the couple of times he got mad
Right.
were so impactful. It was getting mad about the cause of death for children in this country, the leading cause of death being gunshots, and him just getting
he was
angry. I mean, of course. But the reminder, one of the most impactful things, because of course there's the right wingers being really weird about saying that the Democrats are anti-Semitic, right? It's just like, what are you doing? And there is an insider tech within the party of like, they're so pro-Israel that it's a problem in other ways.
Right.
That I was glad to see, like, at least, some acknowledgement of like, this is horrible in Palestine, and pointing out that Joe and Kamala are trying to do something about it. But the same night, the first night, they were hammering hard that the Democrats were anti-Semitic, for Joe to get up and remind everyone that he wasn't even going to run. And he didn't run right after Barack. So we ended up with, and then I tried not to say Lord Dampnut's name.
Sorry.
So we ended up with 45, and then Joe was grieving, lost his child, definitely wasn't going to run, but then Charlottesville happened. And that was the other time you saw him get angry, and it was so important to remind people. Like, you can talk about January 6th because it's more recent, and I don't know how people are forgetting that, but people need to remember that Joe ran because his country meant so much to him, that even through his grief, and he answered that call because he saw these neo-Nazis using the same language that Nazis were in Germany back in the day, marching, and they were so emboldened by Trump, they didn't even wear their damn hoods. And Trump was saying, oh, there's fine people on both sides.
Yeah.
And Joe got up and answered that call at a critical juncture in history and saved. People don't realize how much that saved our country from an even darker descent into hatred.
Yeah.
Well,
not just that, but also with everything that happened in 2020 with both the COVID and then the Black Lives Matter movement and then the financial collapse, all three of those happening at the same time. If Trump had kept and went for another term, how different this, I don't think Ukraine would not be a country right now. That would be one thing that we all can agree on, but there would be so much wrong with this country. This country would be decimated, if he had stayed in power. So, he answered the call, and he decided to run in 2017, and it was a good thing he did because we needed him come 2021 because of everything that had happened in 2020 and how everything just went to shit. But I can imagine Joe sitting sitting on the couch with his wife, watching the news conference and our orange Mussolini saying there's good people on both sides, and Joe just standing up and going, that mother, going off. You can just see it in your head. It's like, oh, I see what I need to do. Like, call some people. I'm like, okay. So, but that was night one, and it was, and also I like the fact that they talked about all the achievements that he had done, and they brought this up. I put this note in first, and then it's been said since then. So I'm like, hey, I'm a prophet. I'm not. I guess it's the common wisdom that basically between President Biden and Vice President Harris, that they have accomplished more in the past 4 years of real growth and everything else than FDR and the New Deal.
I know people don't realize, like, we've got some inflation right now, but this it's record inflation is a lie.
Right.
Like, what the hell? And it's already coming down. I mean, there's just a cycle that can't be controlled.
That's part of it.
Can you imagine if we didn't get the stimulus when we did?
Right. And also part of it is what they also talk about is about corporate greed and everything else. They talked about that, and I thought that was very good.
Yeah.
So night two, they did the roll call vote. We already talked about it and how much fun that was. That was a lot of fun. Chuck Schumer came out and did a little dance.
Oh my
You know,
gosh. He's a dork.
Look,
It was
who his
funny.
niece is?
It was cute, I guess. It was just weird. It was kind of cringe.
That's the point. I think it was supposed to be a little cringe, and he was having. Look, you're at a convention. It is full of. You just had the roll call thing. You don't. After all of that hip hop and dance songs, you don't want to kind of get out there and dance, even if you look like an idiot. So I like, yeah. So, and then Bernie Sanders gave a Bernie Sanders speech, which was always good.
He totally did.
About the billion. And talked about, going after the billionaires, and then later on that night they had a billionaire come out and speak. I'm like, that's a little weird. They also had the ex-CEO of American Express come out there. I'm like, all right. First you have Bernie Sanders slam
all these billionaires are terrible, and but we do have some.
Yeah, I'm like,
although that oil guy, he was good. He gave a really good. He was funny. He was self-deprecating about it. All right, I'm an actual billionaire, but I'm not insane. I believe in these policies.
Right. As someone who is an actual billionaire, I can tell you, it's like, yeah. Because a lot of people have speculated that, 45 is not a real billionaire. At least not, it's probably maybe on
paper.
Not.
Yeah.
Then the second gentleman came out, and that was a wonderful speech that he gave. It was very nice.
He was good.
He was.
I was like, okay, I like him.
Yeah.
I thought the story about how they met was cute and funny.
Yes. And then we had the First Lady, Michelle Obama, former First Lady Michelle Obama, basically reminding us to do something. And it was a great speech, and because she is an amazing speaker. I can see why people keep saying that she needs to run for president. And the thing is, she doesn't want to.
No,
she doesn't want this.
No, her speech was so good.
It was. And then our former president, who, let's be honest, the two former presidents that they had come out and speak are considered some of the best orators of our of lifetimes kind of situations. Both Barack Obama and Bill Clinton the following night, and they were both amazing. Barack was funny, talking about how he had to follow Michelle, and then talking about the loss of
crowd size thing. And...
the crowd size thing, and the little hand gesture. I looked at that. I was like, should I clip that? Should I meme that? And I'm sure somebody else who actually knows what they're doing probably already has. So.
Oh yeah, it's out there. The moment in that speech that Rob is sitting next to me is like, oh my God, I felt that coming through a TV screen. The casting of that spell when he said it, and the crowd started chanting, "Yes, she can."
Yes.
Was so powerful. I don't know if it's going to stick. I have mixed feelings about it. I think there's a lot of other things we can use on the campaign trail because the we was so important to that message and to the philosophy of how we ran the campaigns when we were for Obama, because that empowering people and lifting their voice up, right? So the she is a funny turn to make... we don't want to make that philosophical turn where it's about the candidate, because it's about the people. I think we need to stick with her for the people.
Right.
But it was a hell of a moment.
It was, and it made me stop that video and actually look up the old Will I Am video of Yes We Can, and feeling, oh yeah, I feel this again, because that was what I was feeling. It was just that impactful that it just slapped me in my face, and I'm like, all right, well, I remember that, and I think it's important to also kind of tap into that and remember how transformative his campaign and the fact that he was African American, that
Yeah,
he was a
amazing.
black man running for president and everything else.
Yeah, amazing, focusing on how that reflects on our country, these choices we make. Like, he stopped short of saying it, and it was running through my head like, yeah, when America stood up and showed everyone that this is what we believed in and stood for, somebody got a Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
But it was all about that our country had done that.
Right. Night 3, some of the highlights was, of course, the icon Stevie Wonder first giving a wonderful, simple speech, and then singing Higher Ground, because, you know, it's Stevie Wonder. If you bring Stevie Wonder on the stage and you don't put a keyboard in front of him, I am hurting and wondering what you're doing. I'm wondering why you've programmed this without Stevie Wonder singing, you know, kind of thing. And he sung Higher Ground, but I loved the speech. It was very impactful. It was very, it was talking about going with love and not hate and trying to be the better person and everything else. I thought that was great. Leader Jeffries spoke about passing the torch and how important it was to have the House win the House for her, so that, you know, we can actually do stuff and everything else. And he will be an amazing Speaker of the House in 2025. And then we get to former President Clinton, a great speech talking about the Democratic tickets and what it means to be Dems for the nation and everything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of criticisms of Bill that are valid, and certainly were valid. I mean, I have personal experience with programs being cut that affected me while he was in office, and so that sucks. But he is a great speaker. Still, did you hear?
Yes.
He tore up his speech the night before and rewrote it.
Yes. Well, that's why it wasn't on a teleprompter. He was reading it from.
Yeah.
He was reading it, and he was I noticed
and still
that.
pulled that off.
Man.
Like, that really says something about.
And he was what, 70? He's 78 right now.
Yep.
Yeah, so he is the same age as Trump, and you could I want you to take a second and just put those two people together as far as watching them speak and see who you go, wow, this person's still got it, and this person's like, maybe we should send Granddad back to the old folk home. He needs to get away from a microphone, kind of situation. I mean, it was so stark. And I think that's one of the reasons why they had him come out and speak, was to show that stark contrast.
Yeah, he's like, I'm still younger than Trump. And that was funny.
Yeah.
His pointing out that Kamala would break his record for being the president who spent most time in McDonald's was so funny.
I laughed at that, but I also said to myself, "It's like, you know, there's a lot of young people going, what is this old guy talking about?" And like, look, and us and the rest of us going.
I don't know. It still made. I think it made sense to people who, even if you didn't get the reference, he was saying, "I spent a lot of time at McDonald's, but like she worked there."
Yeah. It was good to see Chelsea up in the box. You know, everything else. One of the you know, first that I can remember of children just being beaten to death in the press, you know, as she was 12 and
making fun of the way she looks. Like, they were shitty to her.
They were. It's like, that was one of the first ones. I'm going, wow, okay, she's fucking 12. What are you
doing? Yeah.
It's like, and of course, Amanda Gorman, she gave another wonderful poem. She is, oh God, I can listen to her read poetry.
Yeah, I was excited to see her walk out. I felt like the poem was really well crafted, and it started slow and it had this momentum that was like, whoa, at the end, very inspiring.
The only problem is for some reason there was a breeze going, and she was having problems. She had beautiful ringlets, and they were blowing in her face while she was trying to read. And I was like,
so I ended up switching feeds that night on night 3 because I was watching the official DNC feed. But I ended up switching to the PBS non-commentary feed because something weird was happening with the DNC feed where it was doing the stage direction. So it didn't have the ASL interpreters, but it had this voiceover, I guess, for blind folks. And it was so weird and awkward. It was like, young black woman approaches wearing a gown. And then she's speaking, and then she's walking away. Her ringlets are blowing in her face. Is being narrated. Like, it was so weird. I eventually had to turn it off, but some of it was really funny. Like, one of the speakers came out, and it was, Rob and I are sitting there, and like, we had just gotten home because we started watching a little late that night. We were out, and we got home, and somebody came out to speak. It was like, all of a sudden you hear this weird voice saying, a white man. And I'm like, what's happening?
What? a white older gentleman comes walking out dressed in a suit, and I'm like, okay.
A black man approaches. He is bald. He is wearing a blue suit. I'm like, oh my God. It was so funny. But it got to the point where I think right after Amanda's poem, I switched to another feed. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, that was a bit much. Oprah's speech was impactful, amazing. Of course, Oprah has been the queen of media for years and years and years, and so she knows how to give a speech, and it was really good. And I love how she talked to all Americans because she's a registered independent voter and talked about voting for her with her values, not voting per party. And I think that was a good outreach in some ways.
Yeah.
I know that there will be some Republicans, no matter how centrist they are, that will always see her as a liberal. And she said, I am a registered independent. I vote with my values. So that means sometimes she may vote Republican. She didn't say that, but that is the implication. And I think that's important to note that. And I think that was a very good speech overall. Trying to find the best of it. That was another thing is talking about, they really hammered home about being neighbors and being connected as neighbors. Like Pete Buttigieg's speech, talking about how that I can't say how my household is like, exactly like your household, but, trying to communicate with 2-3-year-olds to wash their hands before dinner while everything is, going to hell in the kitchen, transcends politics kind of situation. And I felt that was very good. And the fact that they had both Governor Westmoreland and Pete Buttigieg both on there as former veterans and and as minorities, Governor Moore is a black man who is governor of Maryland, and then Secretary Buttigieg is a gay man, and and talking about all of that, I thought that is showing those kind of contrasts, but also similarities. I think was very good. Mm-hmm. The performance. Now, I enjoyed the performance, but I do have a criticism about the performance with John Legend and Sheena E. They performed "Let's Go Crazy" because Governor Walz was going to speak, and he's from Minnesota, and Minnesota is the birthplace of Prince. I do have a criticism. Why weren't they in purple? I was like, I understand.
That's your criticism? The way it sounded, and that's your criticism?
I thought it sounded okay. I thought it sounded fine.
I feel like John Legend, it was not really in his wheelhouse. I mean, I love him, and I've seen him perform. I got to see him to perform. Holy cow! It was at the inauguration events.
Right.
And the neighborhood ball he showed up, but it looked like his in-ear monitor wasn't working. Like he came up front, and to try and hear the monitor, he was off. He wasn't in key and stuff, and that was a little rough. Good to see Sheila E. still kicking it in the drums. Like, dang. Her voice is aged, and I feel that. I used to be able to sing too, and I can't. But just going for it, and it was a lot of fun. It was. I don't know why that song choice either, but I guess you're trying to hype people, but why didn't they use 1999?
I don't know, but I think, well, here's the thing. I think they did it because of the meme that has been going around. It's like, you can't call it Generation, and then it's like Dearly Beloved, just that first, and it's like suddenly you call all the Gen Xers. It's like, hello. That's, I think, because I noted that in our notes, is about that. I think it was a bit of the meme thing, because I noticed that they did do some meme-ish stuff, because they are really, I think this campaign understands social media a lot better than even Obama did.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the time, social media was kind of new and Wild West and everything else. But now,
was it Shapiro or Buttigieg said something about your For You, and people had no idea. Like, all the olds didn't even know what he was referring to TikTok.
Right, yeah. But I thought that was good. And then Tim Walz gave an amazing speech. You could see him.
So after his speech, at the end, he turned it into a pep talk, right?
Right.
And the crowd chanting, Coach Walz as a call and answer. And long after it was over, like after they convened, people were doing that. Like, I haven't seen that since Obama. There was a lot of fired up, ready to go as people left rallies. That and there was a U2 concert I saw that happen at, where people kept singing leaving the auditorium, right? Like, it was so powerful.
Right. And it was just a great speech. It was 16 minutes at most, I think it was. It wasn't that long, but it was impactful. It was good. And you could, and when he went into the pep talks thing, you could actually feel yourself sitting in that locker room going, okay, we are down. You could feel that, at halftime. And it's like, kind of pep talk situation, or on the sideline, it's the fourth quarter and, got 2 minutes left kind of situation, and driving yard by yard and everything else. I thought it was just great. I thought it was a really good speech and really
there was one line that was something that he's already said other places. It's just part of the, it's part of the playbook now. That's a little. I wish he didn't do that, but I guess some people hadn't heard it yet.
Right. It felt like if it was. Can't remember the exact word. I know what you're talking about, but it felt like it was kind of shoehorned into that speech where it didn't need to be. It was the only kind of a little bit of awkwardness to it. So, but then we get on to night 4, the big final night. Senator Warren gave an amazing speech, and I love how they kept hammering it home. But I love it's like. It's like talking about 45 and J.D. Vance. It's like, I would ask them to move my couch. And they really hammered home that couch thing. They really, and I'm here for it. I am here. I know it's been debunked that he didn't say it in his book.
It's so funny.
He didn't do it.
And it matters because it was so easy to believe. So that tells you something anyway. And it's not a heinous lie like every Trump speech. So, but and then she was adorable.
I love. That's why I voted for her in the primary versus Joe at the time, because I wanted her. But when Joe won, I voted for Joe because I felt he was a good choice as well. Then Melina Harris, Ellie Imhoff, and Helen Hayden. If I've butchered their names, I apologize. They came up and talked about their personal experiences of young women dealing with Kamala and her, being motherly and caring and everything else. And I thought that was just an amazing little 3-minute speech that was fun and everything else, and really humanized her. And
you didn't mention, I don't see in the notes, her grandnieces.
Oh, I missed that. Oh, where they were teaching.
Where her little girls came out to teach everyone how to say her name. And pointing out, like, people are saying it. I mean, it's not hard, and we'll tell you how. And now you're not going to have an excuse, especially people who are saying it wrong on purpose.
Right.
And just the comma like a comma. And then the other girl's like, and la like la 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 la. Oh my gosh.
It was adorable. Yes. I saw it today, I think. I didn't see it last night or anything.
And Rob and I, honestly, at the beginning of the campaign, we were still like, how do you, though? Like, where's the emphasis? We weren't, you know, is it Kamala or, you know, Kamala? And how do you say it? And then I had gotten it stuck in my head. I was like, okay, Rob, I saw it. And then now it's going to be stuck in your head because it's Kamala. Na, 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 na. It's Kamala.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
All right. Oh, wow. Okay.
Phenomena.
Now it's stuck in my head. Thank you so much. And then night 4 turned into where Reverend Barney had to use 2 boxes of Kleenexes. So we started off with Representative Lucy McBath, Abby Clements, Kim Rubio, Melody McFerrin, and Edgar Valchez. These are 5 survivors of gun violence, or they lost family members due to gun violence.
The teacher from Sandy Hook, I don't know how she got through recounting that.
That was tough. It's like, and the last line she ended on was, "Oh my God!" I'm just like, And then, we get to the next person who talking about her daughter was being celebrated in school. And then, a few hours later, they're being called in saying that she's not coming home. And you're just like, fuck you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
And it was all so powerful and impactful. And then the next person they bring out to speak is Gabby Gifford, who was a joy. Don't get me wrong. But if you know who Gabby Gifford is, you know what she's been through, and like I said, she was full of joy and happiness. But I'm also there's that bitter sorrow under it, and I'm just going, oh. And then they bring out Pink with her daughter, and I'm going, I hate you.
I was like, who is that? That her voice.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Willa.
And that song. I was crying again when the song was.
like 2 boxes of tissues gone. Like I am not supposed to have these kind of emotions, DNC. This is supposed to be joyful. Why are you killing me? And then Mark Kelly, Senator Kelly, coming out, and it's like, not only did I have to follow my wife, but I also had to follow Pink and her daughter. It's like, what's up with that?
Right.
But he talked about how we needed partnerships, not only here in the States, but also abroad and everything else. And I thought that was a very good speech explaining that. Adam Kinzinger spoke about, why it's important to vote, even though he is a conservative, why he is voting for VP Harris. And then our governor, Roy Cooper, came out and spoke about how tenacious Kamala is about going, and fighting for the common people.
That's great. I'm good. I'm glad he got to speak. Glad he got to introduce her. It was a big day for NC. There was a lot of North Carolina stuff last day because we're in play now. But dude, I was like, oh my God, I hope he's gonna be immediately back on a plane before the morning so that Crazy Pants doesn't call a session and do something. But Roy was there for a couple of days. He was in, some Chicago steak place or something 2 days before that. Dude.
Don't do that.
You missed us. What were you doing? I mean, he probably had somebody on the ground who would have said,
get the fuck on the plane.
Get your ass back here right now. But
yeah. No, yeah, because I put it in the notes. It's like, I hope the fuck he got on a plane and left as soon as that was over, kind of thing. I
Right.
did notice he was wearing.
But that's why I mentioned
Carolina,
he was there for a few days before. So.
It's like, and that's one of the reasons he said he didn't want to be VP. I wonder if there was something else. Yeah. It's still, maybe the lieutenant governor was off doing other things in another state as well. Who knows? Kind of. Maybe he felt it was safe, kind of thing. So, but it's like, and it's only a 2-hour flight. He could probably charter. They probably would have had him chartered a flight, and it had been 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, geez, day one, Harris was at the convention, and then she was out filling the other auditorium that Trump couldn't, and then she was, back. So.
Oh yeah, that was a flex. Not only
that was such a troll.
Not only filling the United Center, but then filling another place in another state.
Well, filling a particular place that 45 couldn't was the point. Right. Filling the United Center doesn't count. It's full of delegates. Like, it's not the public. It's not drawing people. Just saying. But then you get people going to the one in Wisconsin where Trump couldn't fill it and people left early and everything else, and she and Walz filled it up to capacity. Yeah, and that was like oh, look at this. I'm doing this convention over here, but look, I can also get my crowds to show up. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, and it made him angry. I know it did. Of course. So, but he's such a... I watched most of it. I couldn't watch all of it. I had to fast forward sometimes. It's so hard for me to listen to him. The North Carolina appearance he did, I guess it was Asheville, and they film it so close. It's like, wow, that crowd is so small. They have to do... And he's surrounded by bulletproof glass now. He's got his own Pope-mobile stage. And all these people are trying to shove in around it. It was just... And they just talk about me all the time. And they didn't even, they mentioned the border, I think, 0 times. Like, that's such a lie. But, of course, you know the exact number of times they mentioned you narcissist weirdo. Oh, yeah. I do want to touch on this. We're not doing any, carrot and sticks or anything like that. But before we get to VP Harris's speech, I do want to touch on... Did you see J.D. Vance trying to get donuts? No. Oh my! It is the most awkward. It's like this is how I human. How can I get these donuts for my staff? And it was the worst. It was like, he was trying to do this kind of I'm a man of the people kind of thing, and it looked rough and it was horrible. It was anyways. Okay. It was hilarious. Moving on to our finale of the 4 nights was Vice President Kamala Harris giving a wonderful speech, not only laying out policy of what she wants to do, what she wants to accomplish. She didn't lay out the specifics, but she gave broad strokes of what she wants to do when she becomes president, as well as giving a lot of hope, giving a background, kind of a bit of a background of herself, of what she accomplishes and what she's gone after, and what kind of person she is and how she was raised and everything else. And kind of burying any of the criticisms, because I know there has been some about, her father and everything else, and that being kind of, buried and put away. As far as I'm concerned, in that speech, and it was an amazing speech. It was very good. She did really, really, really good. It was. It wasn't fluff. It was full of substance. It was, full of heart. There was so much of that speech. I haven't seen any commentators talk about it because I watched it at 6 a.m. this morning. Because I couldn't sleep, so I was like, fine, I'll just, finish the notes. But that was very impactful and very good. And I feel that was an important thing. Call to action.
find a way to help the campaign. Any way you can are able to help the campaign, find a way to help the campaign. Volunteer to do phone banking, or volunteer a weekend to knock on doors or stuff envelopes, or if you can't do any of that and you can afford it, give a few bucks to the campaign. If you can't do that, post on social media about it. Do something. Try to do something to help the campaign, get the message out, get the word out of who these wonderful people are that are going to lead our country into a new future, and I think a bright future.
So, on that, it's really easy. I think it's 3033. There's a text number you can find to join and volunteer the campaign. But there's also, you can text Vice President Harris. There's a number. You want to make your stuff concerned? You can text 310-861-2977. And make your concerns known, or connect because you want to help out. There's just a text number for the public, for the people.
And we will, September we'll put that in the notes, and it'll be in the notes in both on the Patreon site as well as on the YouTube, so that you can see that as well. But yeah, just call to action. Do what you need to do to try to help. Talk to a neighbor if nothing else, and be like, hey, this election's coming up. Be neighborly. That was one of the things they talked about, was connecting with your neighbors. So connect with one of your neighbors, and if nothing else. But, there's a lot of things that can be done. With that, and surprisingly, we didn't make this a marathon. As I said, we're not doing a carrot and stick. Next week, we're going to just cover some general news and everything else, because this took a lot out of me personally. Having to go through all of this stuff with my disabilities and everything else, it was a little difficult. So we're going to level off next week and just cover some general news and everything else, and talk about general topics. And then the following week, hopefully, I will have gotten through the Hillbilly Eulogy book, and we'll discuss J.D. Vance in more detail, because I think that's important. With that being said, thank you for joining us at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on all the socials at Seth Roth II. You can also find the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and any podcast catcher. Just Google us.
And I'm September. You can follow me at 9of12.com. Connecting to all of my content, please check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Heresy and Hearsay, where $2 a month can keep us going. Thank you for listening today, and bless your hearts.